3 big games, one in Frankfurt, some stats, and the number 1 overall pick in the Halloween candy draft.
And you can go king size, you can go mini. I'm going with the Snickers.
Week 9 now. Big time early morning game as the NFL plays its first ever regular season game in Frankfurt. Though I will say it does come after an extra hour of sleep Saturday night, daylight savings. Is Nate Burleson for, against, or indifferent to daylight savings time?
I'm with it. I'm with it. I want anything that shakes up the monotony of being an adult. You know what I'm saying? Whether we lose time, save time, I just want to do something. You know what I mean? I feel like it's a little bonus that we can add. You know what I mean? It depends on where you're living and what you're doing in your schedule. You're either losing or you're gaining.
But it gets dark early. That's my beef with it. Like in the winter, like at 5 o'clock, it's dark. And for me,
now, as my brother, let me ask you, what does that do for your spirit? What does that do?
I think in the winter, especially living in the cold climate that we do here north of the border, that it just feels like the darkness is upon us more.
Damn, that was heavy. That was heavy. What are we talking about,
for our Week 9 podcast?
The darkness is upon us more.
Yeah.
Ooh, that sounds like a good book.
Hey, isn't the sunlight good for us?
No, you're right, though. You're right. Once that darkness
vitamin D,
we don't even think about going out anymore. Like, we don't even consider staying out late. It's like, I guess I'm headed home and getting into the sheets at 6:35 p.m.
Oh, wifey is definitely dead. Wifey is Persian, right? So she's got that warm blood. She ain't going out in the winter. And when it gets dark, like she's in bed at like 6:45, snuggled with the iPad, and I'm going to work. Another story for another day. So, are you also for, against, or indifferent to the international series? I mean, Frankfurt is hosting the game of the week.
Yeah, I'm absolutely for it. Yeah. I believe that we should play everywhere and anywhere. I just feel like when it comes to the NFL just creating this international reach, like we really don't miss. You know, obviously, like me being Canadian, I don't want to step on the toes of the CFL, but I just feel like there has to be some crossover and some synergy that's there that the NFL can tap into, because the Canadian fan base is so strong. And even though we have our love for the CFL, if the NFL was able to just step foot over there and really pay homage with respect and obviously give some nods to the CFL, I think it'd be great if we had some NFL games in Canada.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. It didn't really work in Toronto, but there are other places, as you know, Calgary-born boy. There are other places to go in this country where you could play games. And as long as you do, I'm with you. Like, I love football, period. I'm a huge fan of the CFL. I mean, your family got a little bit from the CFL. For those who don't know, Pops played in the CFL.
Yeah, Calgary Stampeders.
So there is some love there, but there definitely should be some crossover. And for those who don't know what we're talking about, Chiefs and Dolphins are playing in Frankfurt, 9:30 a.m. Eastern
Game
time.
Of the week.
Game of the week. And the Chiefs coming off a loss to the Broncos. Like, what the hell was that? You hear people talking about look-ahead games. You've been in a room. Is that real? Like, can coaches maybe game plan a little less for a weaker team and start thinking about the next week's game? Or maybe even, I don't know if I'm giving the Chiefs an out here, or maybe like try plays against a weaker opponent, or what you think is a weaker opponent that you might be using. 9 receivers caught a pass in that game and the offense didn't look good for the Chiefs. Like, I wonder if they were just trying ish.
I'll tell you this.
Okay.
When that happens, it's not on the coaches, and I'm not giving the coaches an out. And I'm not that guy that's going to sit here and point at the players. You know me well enough, bro. Yeah. I don't do the whole, like, I'm removed from the game, let's blame all the dudes with the jerseys on. But I do know for a fact, coaches don't take teams lightly. Like, coaches walk in every single week and they are locked in. If anything, they go harder when you're going up against a lesser opponent. I remember specific times throughout my career where we were winning, feeling ourselves, whether we were undefeated, only had one loss, really one of the top of the teams in the league. We knew for a fact that our coach was going to come in barking, and we were going to have to study more, run more, lift more. We're going to have to do everything twice as hard, twice as much, because coach wanted us to keep our focus and really dial it up a bit. When it comes to the players, though, sometimes players get to feeling themselves. We're all human. Like, and for so long, we have been praised and patted on the back for the things that we do. And it's even more so nowadays. So if you're the Chiefs, with all of the inconsistency going on throughout the league, even though they say, put your blinders on and don't listen to the noise, guys still hear it. Like, even though they say, don't pay attention to what's in the papers, guys still read it. Even though they say, hey, don't watch TV and listen to all the pundits, they still watch it, because we were all saying, hey, out of all the teams that are inconsistent, I know that the Chiefs are going to figure it out. I mean, did you see what Kelsey did? Do you see that Mahomes is out there still trying to figure it out while cooking defenses? Oh, and speaking of defenses, the defense is really good. I'm not saying they packed it in and they were out there playing against the Broncos and thinking to themselves, we don't need to give 100% effort. But I do feel like those are perfect games where you just take the foot off the pedal ever so slightly. And with the team like the Broncos that are so hungry just to be relevant in the conversation, not necessarily to get a win, they just wanted to be competitive. And it just showed that one team was thirsting for a win and did whatever they could to pull it out, the Broncos, and another team expected to win, as they should, but got punched in the mouth.
Right. Okay. So how do they respond to the punch? How do you see Dolphins Chiefs breaking down this week in Frankfurt?
It's tough because you think that the Chiefs will be able to bounce back against any team. But if I'm trying to have a bounce back game, I wouldn't reach for the Dolphins. I would reach for somebody else. I would be looking to play the Browns as a get right game. But the Dolphins, I think the Dolphins are the most exciting team. But at the same time, with what we saw that the Bills did to them, it kind of makes you wonder, do they have a weakness if the game plan is right? Now, you got to have the same type of technology that the Bills are playing with. I just know that if you can focus on keeping Tyreek Hill in check, which for me, that means 125 yards and maybe a TD. You can't let him go for $185 and 2 TDs and just have these momentum shifting plays. If you do that, and then you keep those running backs corralled ever so slightly, you'll be able to win the game. But if Tyreek start doing what he does out there playing around like he's playing tag with fifth graders, it's over for the Chiefs. Because I have seen the Dolphins play at a dominant level, which I'm talking about games where I thought nobody can stop them.
Yeah.
I haven't necessarily seen that from the Chiefs yet. I've seen them be good, close to great. They haven't recaptured that dominance that we've seen from years past. So this is going to be a tough one. And if I had to pick, I might go with the Dolphins in this one.
I wanted to go get the stat to back you up. Players, most career games with at least 10 receptions and 150 yards NFL history. Tyreek Hill tied for the lead in NFL history. And to me, he's still a young pup, but we're old school.
Still a young pup.
I know. Yeah, we figured that. We figured
That's a fact. That's a fact.
Is the case, I mean, listen, the KC offense is going to need to score against Miami, I assume. I mean, I don't want to discount their defense because they've played really well. In fact, they're second in the league in points per game. The KC defense is. So
they're playing well this year.
Yeah, I want to give a tip of the cap, but I feel like KC's going to need to score. Are you convinced that the offense is there for KC?
I am. You know, when you're anchored by the best tight end, which I don't really label pass catchers these days, Travis Kelce is going to open up that offense. But what we've seen is inconsistency with the guys that are complementing Kelce, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we saw throughout the year where we've had some big drops and big moments. And listen, a guy may still, because they throw the ball so much, come back and make a play. But it's the consistency throughout the game. Like, how often do we see the Dolphins drop rocks? How often do we see listen, they go 3 and out just like everybody else. They have drives that stall. They settle for field goals too. But as far as pass catchers, they do it, and they do it at a high level. And you can count on multiple guys to be dynamic playmakers. With the Chiefs, you count on Kelce, Mahomes, and then the complementary pieces hopefully stepping up. And if they want to beat the Dolphins, we shouldn't be talking about Kelce having a good game because, listen, I know Mike McDaniel, I know that coaching staff. What are you going to do with Travis Kelce? You bracket him. You put one guy underneath, one guy over the top, and then you make everybody else beat you. That will be the game plan.
Yeah, I keep waiting. Rashid Rice has turned into something for me.
He is special. He is special.
And I feel like Justin Watson is on like the verge of being something.
He's on the cusp.
but he ain't there yet, and that's the difference between good and great. All right, last one on this one. Nate Burleson for, against, or indifferent to Frankfurters, which is
Frankfurters, like the longer hot dogs.
I just think it's a hot dog. I think you guys co-opted that. The Americans, when I say you guys, the Americans co-opted that.
I'm gotta be careful. I'm an old school hot dog guy. You know what I mean? I don't get caught up in. I don't get caught up in like nowadays. They'd be like, "Oh man, eating a glizzy." I listen. I'm not with the nicknames. I'm just eating a hot dog. You know what I mean? I seen one dude so self-conscious, he broke it up into pieces and shook it like sunflower seeds. I'm like, "Yo, just eat the hot dog. It ain't that serious. Ain't nobody gonna take a picture of you."
That's amazing. All right, so the Eagles put their best record in the NFL on the line, home to the Cowboys. Dallas coming in hot, dominating the Rams. Dak looked good. Everyone looked great. How different is this matchup for the Cowboys facing the Eagles?
It's different now. When you see Dak smiling and the offense is cooking, CeeDee Lamb looks unstoppable. He gets the catch and does that little, I don't know what that is, but that thing is hard. I do love this offense when Dak Prescott has control of it. And I feel like the more we see Dak Prescott play well, the more we're realizing maybe they are allowing him to run the offense versus letting the offense run through him. You know, before in years past, it was Dak getting a call, giving the call to the huddle, and then going out there and running the offense. I've seen some moments where Dak is like, I got this. I'm going to adjust the play at the line of scrimmage, maybe even calling the plays himself in the huddle. That's the offense that I love from the Cowboys. On defense side of the ball, listen, you got to hit Jalen Hurts. And I'm not talking about dirty. You just got to hit him. And what he's done is he's got rid of the ball early. So he's making decisions quick. He's saying, all right, single coverage, I'm going to A.J. Brown all day long. If you're trying to send that safety over, I'm going to get that ball to him before you get over there. You better make it obvious that you are bracketing or double teaming AJ. And if you do that, of course, I'm going to the duo, the other side of the duo, which is Devontae Smith. But that Cowboys defense, they got to hit Jalen. And when he tries to run with the ball and get those first downs with his legs, you got to make him feel it, you know, and that's the only way you beat the Eagles, because all year long, the Eagles are making other people feel it. Even when they're not playing well in a game, they're still the strongest. And I'll use the word bully. They still bully their way through the game. It's hard-nosed. If the passing game isn't there, they'll muck it up in the trenches. And I know those other teams are leaving bruised up. So you got to be the more physical team when you're playing the Eagles. Yeah,
they win in the trenches. They're like old. If we're going old school again, they win in the they dominate that line of scrimmage. And we should never pontificate on whatever the hell that is that CeeDee Lamb is doing. I think we just leave that alone.
Leave that be.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I think we can get some real trouble.
We all saw Scarface. Okay. Cool. We'll leave it alone.
Scarface. Tough stretch for Philly too, right? Like it goes Dallas, Kansas City, Buffalo, San Francisco, Dallas again, and then Seattle. Your boys in Seattle. That's
playing well.
Interesting stretch. All right. Speaking of Seattle, the final of the 3 2 or less loss matchups is Seattle in Baltimore. And we all know that stats are like Megan Thee Stallion, Cardi B videos. They show a lot, but they don't show everything. So I'm going to give you a stat and ask you if this is a super stat or a meaningless number. Lamar Jackson has won his last 5 against NFC opponents. All time, he is 17-1 against the NFC. Is that a super stat or a meaningless number?
I believe that is a super stat. And you said Megan Thee Stallion. I'll say, listen, stats are like Megan Fox. They look really good, but they can also transform your team. And that's what this stat has been for the Ravens. Listen, forget about what's going on in the AFC. When it comes to the teams that he's facing, the record speaks for itself. What'd you say, 17-1, correct?
Yeah, 17-1, yeah.
So if he has that stat hanging over his head, which essentially, let me tell you what a wide receiver sees. It's hanging over the locker room. When you face a team, you're going to hear about it. Just like coaches put bulletin board material to motivate you because the other team was talking trash. When you have these good streaks going, coach is going to let you guys know. He's going to make sure the quarterback understands you're unstoppable in these spaces and places. And the receivers, hey, your quarterback is dominant when he faces this team, this division, this conference. So, yeah, I think this is a real deal stat.
Is that because teams don't see him a lot, Nate? Like, if you play in the division, you understand here are the things that are successful against a guy like Lamar. But if you don't face him a lot, you're just like, holy crap, this guy does things that we don't see on the regular.
That's perfectly put, bro. Because listen, if you are Evander Holyfield and you fight Tyson more than once, you know how to move with him in the ring. And when you get hit with that shot, it's not really going to throw you off. It might shock you, but you can shake it off. But no matter how many times other guys that are the future opponents of Mike Tyson watch film, if they never been in there with him, they will always be surprised by his power. So when these teams face Lamar within the division or within the conference, they know him. Not that he isn't still as good, but they've seen it. They know how he moves, how he wiggles, how he shakes, how he breaks tackles, how he puts that little flick of the wrist on that deep ball. They've seen it time and time again. Those NFC teams, no matter how much film they watch, they're always shocked by the speed. I'm sitting next to J.J. Watt, and he even said it himself. He's like, I've watched film on Lamar. I know what it's like to tackle fast guys. But the first time I faced him, being alone with him in that pocket, and it's just me and him, and there's a little bit of wiggle room on either side of me, he said he's never seen that type of speed. So that just goes to show you, when you don't see a guy often, it's shocking when you're face-to-face with him.
Yeah, and that's the best players on planet Earth. That's amazing.
That's crazy.
Before I let you go, I know Halloween's big in the Burleson household. Costume, multiple, if I'm not mistaken, costumes.
That's a fact. Like, multiple.
Yeah, did I see Teen Wolf, Nate? Did I see?
Yeah, of course. Of course. You saw Teen Wolf. You saw a little abominable snowman. I don't know if I said that right. And then we did Shaft and
Big Snowman.
Yeah, Big Snowman, basically. Yeah. We did Shaft and who's the Pam Grier. My wife was Pam Grier. Yeah, Foxy Brown. But yeah, shout out to Teen Wolf. I just sat down for my second interview with Michael J. Fox.
Oh, amazing.
Canadian. And he can represent, and he always represents, which he did in the conversation. Should be dropping on CBS Morning sometime soon.
Nice.
But man, that dude is incredible, man. Everything that he has been through. And like I said, he is a proud Canadian. So I had to give him that shout out.
Okay. I know this doesn't always translate across borders, but Nate, you and I are uniters. We unite the people. That's what we do. So I've just handed you the #1 overall pick in the Halloween candy draft. You use that #1 overall pick to select which Halloween candy, and I'm just stalling to give you more time to decide.
Listen, I'm gonna just say this. There's a few that I have to mention before I get to it, okay? Now you can go with the classics that are universal, that everybody knows, familiar name, brand name. We're talking Skittles, gummy bears. I mean, those are the things that are going to work. But on the flip side, you have to go not sweet and tangy. You might have to go savory, like a chocolate bar. So then you're thinking, oh, well, then let me go ahead and get a little Hershey's. But that's just too plain, because all you get is the chocolate. I'm going with something that's consistent, that will always hold you down, that is semi like a meal when you eat it. And on top of that, there is brand recognition across the board. And you can go king size, you can go mini. I'm going with the Snickers.
I knew you were going Snickers.
Because it's like
peanuts,
people are rarely disappointed when they get a Snickers. You know what I'm saying? Now, if a kid has allergies to peanuts, then you got to give him something else. I ain't gonna lie though. There was a kid that rolled up on me. I gave him, a Snickers, and he was like, "I don't eat nuts." And I was like, "Damn, that delivery could have been a little bit smoother, fam. You could have just, you know what I mean?" And then Tim, he did like this. He looked at my candy that was on the floor, and he peeked around the door. He's like, "Can I get one of those king sizes over there?" I'm like, "Oh, bro, where's your daddy at, man? You need some manners."
Picking and choosing. I love it.
He kind of punked me too. I reached over there and gave him a king size. He was like, "Thanks." I was like, "All right, man."
All right.
But yeah, I'm going with Snickers though. No. What about you? Are you saying Snickers too?
Listen, Snickers is a consensus top 5 pick. Unless you have a nut allergy, there ain't nobody out there that's gonna say I don't like Snickers. Snickers come. I understand your first overall pick.
Well, give me 2 sleepers. Give me 2 sleepers then.
I gotta. I don't even know if you got it there. Have you ever heard, speaking of Frankfurt, of a Wunderbar?
What is that? Describe it to me. What describe it to? Because I feel like we have something like it. We got something like a Yabba Dabba bar, which is like a nougat. Is it nougat?
No, it's no nougat. It is
okay.
It is more like a special crisp, where it is like a crispy kind of peanut buttery wafer with caramel surrounded by chocolate.
So
maybe a $100,000 bar. Is that something?
$100 grand, but it doesn't have a peanut butter crisp. It has like a crunch layer on top. Right. But $100 grand is fire though, because it has a crunch layer on top with nothing but caramel. So are you telling me? Me that what you're describing is kind of like a Butterfinger, but it has caramel in between?
Bingo! What? Bingo has been called. Okay, here's what we're gonna do. We've run out of time, but I, Timothy Micallef, as a representative of Canada, and knowing that we are uniters, I am gonna send you a care package of Canadian Halloween treats that I know that you don't have down there, and then when you get them, we're gonna do it right here.
Okay. All right, cool. Hey, I got to ask you this before you go. Yeah. So when I was growing up, because I was Canadian and the only one out of my family and my friends, when we were selling Canadian Clears in the corner store, I thought this was my connection to the homeland. Is Canadian Clears, were they a thing?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
What? It was a drink. I thought this whole time I was tapping into my roots. I felt like Black Panther going back to Wakanda when I was drinking those things, man. It was like a Canadian Clearly or something.
Was it? Hold on. Was it Canada Dry? Like Canada Dry?
Nah, it wasn't Canada Dry. It was in a glass bottle clear, had like strawberry, like mixed berry, and like a seltzer. But I thought it was Canadian this whole time. I'm gonna send you that. You send me we'll do an exchange program.
Yeah. We'll and hit us up on Twitter and Instagram if you know what Nate is talking about, and I'm just an idiot. Okay, it could be me.
Yeah.
Oftentimes,
all right, man.
It's me.
Speaking of candy, man, I'll see you later, Milk Dud. I love you.
Love, peace, and hair grease.